This is Darnell Diesel Moon, the upset artist, the boogeyman, however y'all want to put it. And I'm here to give a shout out to my guys. I love listening to John, Charles, and Frank on Real Talk Boxing.
He says that I know what I'm doing. Wrong answer. All right, folks. We start the show by saying we know what we're doing. Not even close. Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Network's Real Boxing Talk Show. We're going to talk real boxing. I'm in a swivel chair and I can't stop swiveling, so I'm sorry if I keep bouncing off the screen here. Hey, I'm a big kid. I can't do anything about it. We're going to tackle a couple things that have happened in the last week, but instead of the normal speculation that we have, we're going to kind of shoot off the hip on a couple things because, frankly, we don't have a show planned for today. So, first of all, John, tell us about the fight that you saw last weekend that I don't think got a lot of pub, but then once it was over, people were really paying attention to it.
Yeah, it was a battle of opposites. That's what I thought going in. I mean, I paid attention to it, but I wasn't like, ooh, I can't wait till this fight starts. You had the Olympic stud and Michael Conlon and the guy who worked his way up from nowhere, Lee Wood. He didn't have the Olympic pedigree. He was a guy that 33 years old. He's one of those guys you got to admire because he's earned everything. He has had nothing given to him versus kind of the golden boy of Belfast, Michael Conlon, who won all those wars and won a couple of, actually won like 7 or 8 boxing tournaments, and he deserves it. He's good. There's no doubt about that. It was just that was what struck me when I was watching it.
Right.
Yeah, the complete opposites of these guys, and Michael Conlon is more famous or infamous for flipping off the judges at the Olympics when he bird and everything, and that made him kind of more famous than he was as a fighter. He was famous as an amateur in a sense, especially in Belfast and everything. But so he did that at the weigh-in for when even though the crowd was kind of mixed, he still did this. It's become kind of his image, and what really was interesting to me was. He got right into Lee Wood's face and got this close to him, and you could read his lips. And I so you won't have to cut it, Frank, because this is we have an age limit on the show. He said, "I'm going to F you up." And he's like this. He's yelling at him. And what intrigued me was the fact that Lee Wood was not even blinking. And I thought, I don't know, that might make me go, man, this guy, I don't know about this guy. Some guys, flinch or blink.
And you just kind of lean back or something, right? Yeah.
Like, I really
do. Yeah.
So, and then, see, as my mind, I work as a writer. So as I'm thinking, I'm watching right before the fight starts. Conlon is so confident. And Lee Wood looks very edgy. So I'm thinking, okay, he knows what he's facing here. He knows he's facing a guy younger, not that big a deal. But he knows he's facing a guy who's quicker, who's a really good boxer. And he's, Lee Wood, if you've ever seen him, kind of robotic, but a lot of power. Yeah, easy to figure out, gets hit a lot. Well, the last 2 fights, because he's a tough guy from Nottingham. He's from the Carl Froch land there. So he's tough. And, Froch was robotic, as we know. So the fight starts, and a minute in, boom! Conlon throws an overhand southpaw, overhand left from Belfast, and Lee Wood goes down like an assassin just shot him. And he's out until he hits his head on the canvas, wakes him up. He gets up, and he's wobbling, and you're like, oh, well, man, I didn't see this. And Michael Conlon comes into the fight undefeated, obviously. He's only got 8 knockouts. He's not known as a power puncher. But Lee Wood is really in a world of hurt. Conlon tries to finish him, but somehow Wood hangs on. But all fight, he cannot get out of the way of that left hand. No matter what, he pulls back, bam. He ducks. I mean, Conlon just had him all zeroed in, and no matter what, and his trainer kept telling him, don't have your head right there on a plate, try to do a little, made no difference. The point was after that first knockdown and after he got wobbled, he got buzzed a few times after, but he never went down again, and he started to get, you could see it, he started to get into the fight a little. I mean, he lost the first 5 rounds easy. But then near the end of the 5th, he started tagging Conlon with some shots, and mostly body shots, but then Conlon would fight right back and say, But Conlon had exerted so much energy that he started getting tired as the fight went on. And Lee Wood, to his credit, I said my article came from the abyss, and it's pretty true, just kept on going. And if this isn't boxing, this is totally boxing, because here's a guy that he's done, he's finished, and now he's back in the fight. He's not winning, but he's competing. He won't quit. He's starting to bother Conlon a lot. Then in the 11th round, he floors Michael Conlon. A lot of people said it was a slip. Well, he got hit. He went down. It was legit. I thought it was legit. He might have slipped when he got hit, but he went down. He was all mad about it. His corner's all mad about it. Whatever. When the 12th round started, Lee Wood was like a locomotive that was gaining steam as the fight came on, and Conlon you could tell he was starting to get more and more tired, but it didn't look like he was done. But in the 12th round, when Lee Wood pushed him and forced him in the ropes and started firing, you could see he was like, oh man, he was moving all like this, and then one shot hit him right here in the temple, and he went out right there and fell back through the ropes and out of the ring. Not something you see very often. So I went from,
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't want to see anybody get hurt, or killed. I mean, it happens in boxing. So it went from this incredible dramatic knockout to, oh my. And they don't show the replay again. Some people didn't like that. I completely agree with that. They don't need to show the replay. This is a guy's life here we're talking about. And Lee Wood, to his credit, he would not celebrate until he knew about what Michael Conlon and how he was. Yeah. And just so people, if they don't know, Conlon was fine. He was conscious. They took him to the hospital. He had brain scan. Everything. He's good. Next day, he was fine, talking and everything. But that was unexpected result at the end. And a lot of people were saying it was a 50-50 fight. See, and I've been on a roll lately. Not. I thought that Conlon had the edge. So I thought in the first 5 rounds, I'm like, Then, so it was one of those kind of fights. But, these little guys, as we've talked about for years on this show, Frank, these little guys, they just bring it. And it was really what boxing is about, where you put it on the line. And that's the scary part, where people can really get hurt really bad. And, we've talked about that a lot. So happily, Conlon's okay. And not the fight of the year, but a tremendous fight.
Well, and we talk about this all the time, that there's no shot clock. You have to fight the fight. And just because you're losing, and if you're still okay, don't stop the fight. Now, obviously, if you're getting hurt, you don't have an answer, stop the fight. But this is a thing where, you're not winning early, but you keep on going. The other guy runs out of steam. And, you don't, like I said, don't want to see anyone get hurt. But it's the idea of, let me out here and work on it, coach. Let me slug away. Maybe I'll figure it out. Maybe he'll get tired. Maybe something will happen. We change momentum. And as much as I don't like the idea of momentum in sports, I know that it exists. I don't see why it exists, because you do what you have to do, but you feel good about yourself, you feel bad about yourself. The other guy feels better about himself, and things change. And all it takes is that one pitch, that one hit, that one shot, that one punch. And someone's like, wait, I'm in this. I understand now. What wasn't working 3 minutes ago is working now. And what he was doing before I figured out. Again, Charles has always mentioned the first Marquez-Pacquiao fight, where after the first round, there was no reason to watch that until the second round occurred. Because after the first round, he's not going to have an answer for this. He hasn't got out of the way of this punch yet. And then Marquez figures it out. And now the one punch that Pacquiao could land isn't landing anymore. He didn't have a plan B to go to. That Pacquiao, not the Pacquiao later in the world, but that one. So you let the fight go. And I appreciate that Lee Wood was able to come back and do something about it. The fact that I did see that before they stopped showing the replay, when you saw Conlon go boom, 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 like, oh, geez, because he was out and couldn't control the fall. Right. That was the scary part about it. If it's not like wrestling when you fall out of the ring and you know where you're going and you land on something soft. He had no idea.
Landed on his head.
Any cognizance at all. Like, boom, he was out. So now you mentioned fight of the year. Wasn't fight of the year. I'm going to go back to something Charles said a couple weeks ago. That he said he thought he saw the potential fight of the year. Charles, what has this is I just asked the question. I forgot. This is March. What do we need to see, do you think, in the upcoming months to top the fight that you thought might have been the fight of the year? How good was that fight, do you think? Or are there any potential fights out there that we're looking at, the obvious ones, that could be better?
You say better. I'm not sure. I mean,
Okay, that's fine.
well, part of the reason why you call it fight of the year is because for me, it's about nonstop action, right? It's not so much about one guy dominating the other. It's more or less of two guys going at a point and then they reach a pinnacle where you get to a point where you say, okay, one guy's will or whatever just outlasts the other guy. But what it does is it continues to be going on for a while. And then you go, we know there's going to have to be a winner. But then it's like you mentioned about the will, or even it could be fatigue, it can be a number of things, but you just see these guys nonstop action, giving you nonstop action. And eventually somebody's will or whatever it is comes up, and then it comes with a dramatic fashion, or it just shows you with them continually fighting to the end. So that's what I think it makes makes things fight of the year. In regards to what might lead up to something to that point, if not fight of the year, maybe it might just be out of anticipation. I'm looking at that Spence Ugas fight, and I say that because of the fact that Ugas has shown you that what he's capable of in some areas. You thought about when he fought Sean Porter. A lot of people thought he won that fight. What he did to, I think, an older Pacquiao, still he getting a lot of credit for that. And then the other realm of it, the perspective is the factor that when you think about Earl Spence Jr. and what he's coming back from, a detached retina, and then we just don't know if there's any other lingering effects of his car accident as well. Some people, of course, have said he didn't look as sharp as he has had in the past, but I'm like, I don't know what you want from me. If he wins and he's still more dominant and impressive, he may not have won the way that you expected him to. But the one thing I always liked about Earl Spence Jr., he never walks away from a war. I mean, you never hear him saying, people would say, well, the war we want to see him with is eventually with Crawford. But I mean, he's taking care of the business, taking his time, and from all aspects, what he's saying, if he beats Ugas, then he's going to take care of Terence Crawford, or at least they're going to meet because he's ready to move up. So the timing, and he hasn't fought a lot due to whatever circumstances are concerned. But I think that fight is right there because Ugas has said and proven, at least to a point, that he's ready. And Earl Spence Jr. could have easily taken another fight. He could have taken a tune-up against somebody that everybody knows he could have easily won. But even though he didn't go after the guy with Crawford, he did go after a guy with belts. So, I mean, that says something to it because he could have said, no, I'm going to go over here and get this easy fight, maybe fight Danny Garcia again or something like that, or fight Thurman, which I think is going to be, it'd be a crazy fight, but it might be a little easier for him. But he didn't do that. So I think that's the reason why I would point to that one. There's a couple other ones, but I'm going to stick with that one just because of the fact that there's so much of the unknown and everybody has perspectives on it. And with that being said, you still have two quality guys that are coming in there too, and we get a chance to see them going for it. And the fight itself, the winner comes out where hopefully we'll get more close. We'll actually get closer to maybe having an undisputed champion in the welterweight division.
Make a big deal about styles make fights, and you got a puncher, you got a brawler, blah 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 blah. But I look back when I think fight of the year, and I look back at Corrales Castillo, where if you didn't know which guy was, you wouldn't have known by watching the fight. I mean, it's just like if they mixed the names up and the colors, you would have went, I don't know which guy is which, but I know they're putting on a hell of a show. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I see what you're talking about, is if I'm reading right, correct me if I'm wrong, that we don't have that kind of matchup coming up in the next few months. That it's not that guy, those two guys are like, I'm going to go after you. No, I'm going to go after you. There's always a little bit of difference here, I think. Like, for example, Fury and White. I don't know what White is going to do. We pretty much have an idea what Fury's going to do, but he can also make changes. So I don't think it's going to be that brawling 8-round pure sixer. It's just going to be someone's going to figure it out, and then someone's going to figure out what has to be done. John, any idea that we might have another fight that's just going to be all action, all craziness, and then whoever ends up staying at the end wins.
Well, not craziness, but I think Charlo Castano, the second one, could actually be a really good fight. That's an intriguing, because the first one was so competitive, and that's how I see it too. And then maybe Gervonta Davis and Romero could end up being a crazy fight because Romero's crazy, is allegedly, and Gervonta wants the bomb, so that might not go the distance, probably not, but it might be 6 rounds of hell. The sleeper fight that I'm thinking, and I thought of this when Charles was talking, and I looked it up because I was like, when is that? Is our guy Erickson Lubin against Sebastian Fundoro for 12 rounds, and Fundoro is like 6'3" and 148 pounds. He's a string being like even taller than Tommy Hearns, but he basically has no defense.
Right.
He wants to bang, and we know how good Lubin is. Lubin was knocked out once, but he's so I'm thinking that might be maybe not 12 rounds again, but that could be a brutal fight, because I doubt it might take a round or two to get started, but that one could be a fight of the year candidate. Fight of the year candidates, sometimes they come out of nowhere. You don't expect them. Chocolatito used to always seem to be like he was in, especially if he fought Estrada or something like that, he'd be in, because he's nonstop, what Charles said. But a lot of guys, they're not. So I remember Anthony Joshua and Klitschko were fight of the year, and that was heavyweights. And my friend Mike kept telling me, the fight was boring. Me and my sons were watching a couple of little guys going at it, and it was much more exciting. I went, yeah, but this was different because, one, they're heavyweights, the impact, the significance, the drama. A guy gets knocked down, he gets up, he stops the guy. So it was there's different levels.
The flows of it, right? Yeah.
The year, and the one that pops into my mind going back 100 years is a dramatic one that wasn't fight of the year, but a drama like we saw was Mike Weaver knocking out John Tate in the 15th round.
Right.
He was behind on points, and he just had him with a shot, and John Tate hung, and then bam. And that drama, it's like a 80-yard run or an 80-yard touchdown pass of football, or a dramatic home run in the bottom of the ninth to win the game. It's exciting as hell, and you don't expect it. But yeah, it's hard to predict what is going to be a fight of the year. But most of the time, it's not wrong what he said. Most of the time, it is the little guys, because they throw punches. They're a lot lighter, of course, but they're nonstop. Little jockeys, throwing all these punches and so gutsy that, we've got some good ones coming up, though. I won't say we love Shakur and Oscar Valdez. I don't think that's going to be fight of the year. I don't think it's going to be close to that. I think it's going to be very tactical in places, but intriguing in different ways. So hard to say, but there's one out there, Frank. If we haven't seen it, like Charles was talking about.
I think, and I agree with you that Charles's guy Erickson Lubin will put on a good fight.
Yeah,
but Fundora, if you haven't seen Fundora fight people, you are going to be in for, I don't know if a treat is the right word, but you're going to be intrigued, because I think 6'3", I'm thinking more 6'5". I mean, he's a tall guy, and he doesn't use that to his advantage. He likes to fight on the inside. It's the strangest thing. You see him inside with little guys that he's a foot taller than, and he's just like, and to use pardon me, Charles, my Paul Williams reference here, it's a little bit different than that, because Paul Williams threw a lot of punches, but he threw them from range. And if you were able to get inside of him, well, then that was trouble. Fundora doesn't care, and he's just out there.
Right there to get hit.
Right. It hit me. Go ahead. I'm going to hit you. You hit me. So there's one I like to look up. So that's a nice idea. Charles, as we segue into something else, what do you see coming up? I know we do this all the time, but I'm going to try and take a different spin on it. Instead of it being a great fight, what fight that's has a lot of hype, and I don't mean to be Johnny Negative here, but we're going to walk away from it and go, well, okay.
That's wow. It's I'm gonna get in trouble with John with this. John's like, all
right.
John paying attention.
He's on another coast. It's okay.
Yeah, but maybe because I'm biased, right? I mean, because what you've seen and whatnot. But I'm thinking that maybe, and and I might be wrong because I haven't seen a lot, but one, I think that the Fury Dylan White fight. I mean, I just think that, I mean, the factor that Dylan White waited so long to try to sign the paper and whatnot.
Right.
You know, this is your opportunity to be heavyweight champion and really show the world that you are not the guy that you're not the same guy that got knocked out, right? And got, you know, put flat on his face. You kind of redeem yourself, and now you get an opportunity to go against the number one guy. And they're trying to hype it up and whatnot because it's Fury, and they're trying to hype it up because Dylan White's opportunity is here. But for as much as you try to hype it up, I think it's just going to be one of those, you go, Fury's just waiting for his opportunity. I'm going to take this dude. I mean, again, I think the media and so many other people have downplayed what Fury had to do. You know, like I said, I wasn't his biggest fan coming on. I thought he was kind of full of hot air, even back to the point with Klitschko. But over the time and over a few years, he's shown us that, you know, he took on the bully. I mean, Deontay Wilder, I said this before, was a monster. He scared a lot of people when he knocked a lot of people out. When it wasn't so much that Fury was such a more dominant fighter, but we throw that word crafty out, ding, ding, ding. But the way he went about the business and handled it and figured this out impressed me. And I think that's strategy. When you know your opponent, and granted, even when you're on the ropes, and might have been a couple extra moments from being knocked out, I'm talking about Fury, that is, still the factor that he weathered the storm and did that. So with that being said, I think that's why the Dylan White fight is kind of like, unless Fury just comes in out of shape. I mean, what is in shape for him anyway?
Right.
Unless he comes out where he doesn't have the right attitude and he's just kind of taking it for granted. But at this stage and where he's at and kind of setting himself up in a different kind of life, living like in Las Vegas and doing things with his life, I don't think he's going to come in not prepared. So I think that's why it's more of a ho-hum fight, because they're trying to pump it up, but I think it's like, yeah, that's not what we really want to see. But you are heavyweight champion of the world. You're the top guy in the heavyweight division, and we're going to do what we can to pump it up, even though people seem like they don't want to fight you. So,
I know I don't normally do this, but any of them that we're looking at, you're saying, maybe, but maybe not. You know, it's not going to be what we're going to hope it's going to be.
Yeah, I think Canelo and Bivol might not be that great. You know, I think it's got some intrigue, and you're going to get in trouble with me, Charles, with Fury and White either. I mean, I completely agree. Fury probably put White away under 7 rounds. I don't know. I think it's big because it's a heavyweight fight. That's about it. Other than that, and they're big guys. Other than that, it's not something you're going, oh, God, I can't wait to see it. But I don't know. I think the Bivol-Canelo fight is interesting, but I also think that if you've ever seen Bivol fight, he's not what you would call an exciting fighter. And Canelo is a counterpuncher mostly nowadays. So it could be a very slow pace, well, for them, tactical again, which is not bad. But if you're looking, if the buildup is going to be so huge because it's Canelo, there's no way it can live up to that buildup. It's not going to be I don't think, exciting unless he knocks Bivol out, which is certainly possible. And he won't do it early. It'll be later, most likely. So that one has a possibility. And by the way, Fight of the Year candidate, I just thought of one that might be really an intriguing one, Frank, is it just depends because we don't know, is Golovkin against Murata April 9th, because Golovkin's 40 years old. We don't know, and that Japanese guy is one tough dude. So that might be a toe-to-toe battle for a number of rounds, maybe not Fight of the Year, but it'll be what people want. And Golovkin can box too, so it could be or it couldn't be. And so there's all these little intangibles. But yeah, I never was really sold on Bivol and Canelo. Now, if Canelo was fighting Vidabiev, who Max Boxing just got an exclusive interview with, which was pretty cool, then I would be excited because Vidabiev is he's a beast, as we know. You know, he's a beast from Canada and Russia all at once. So, but yeah, you know, and sometimes it's so funny with boxing. Sometimes, this is a can't miss fight, and you watch it, and you go, eh. So it's like you said, styles. But yeah, Canelo and Bivol be good, but it's no way it lives up to the hype.
Well, it's funny you brought up Benavidez because that's my fight against Lemieux, because it's essentially an eliminator, but what have we seen from Lemieux? He's still a name. What have we seen from Lemieux in the last 4 years? And yeah, so I mean, if you're looking name to name, it's not going to be a huge fight as far as the public is concerned, but for people like ourselves, we're going to want to see it. And I think we're going to walk away going, well, Lemieux has done what he did before, and Benavidez, like you said, just went out and went, I'm walking through him. And I don't know that lasts 4 or 5 rounds, even though it probably, if it was Lemieux from a few years ago, maybe it would have been. But I think it's going to be one of those, oh, geez, he's just taking care of business. Or Benavidez might just won't care. I don't know.
Got the puncher's chance for a few rounds.
For a few rounds, right.
Hit hard.
Yeah. Who's making comebacks that we need to see? I know of one I don't know of a comeback, but guys that have been up, down, and now they're back, I think. Charles, I've got one for you, but I'll see where you go first. Maybe you already know about it. You've thought about it. So who do you want to see that's coming back or has been away, or however you want to put it?
Wow. See, that's hard because now we've seen so many boxers that tried to come back or made whatever. I don't know.
Well, I don't mean come back from the dead. I mean, we haven't seen them in a while. I think there's a fight coming up, and I want to see him. I'm not sure how difficult this guy, if he really wants to box anymore, but I want to see him anyway. I think he has a fight coming up, and that's Tony Harrison. There you go. I knew you were going to do it. Cool.
Yeah. I want to see him because I think if he really puts his mind to it, and he really wants to fight and comes in prepared. That's the other thing for him. If he comes in prepared, gets up for a good fight, I think he can really do something. So I want to see him, but I want to see him in the right frame of mind, because the last time we saw him, it was kind of
right.
You're like, is that the same dude? Is that the guy that fought Charlo and all that too? And if he's not in the right frame of mind, and I don't know what that is or what it takes to get him there, I don't want to see him. But I want to see him. I would love to see him, and I might be way off when it comes to the weights, but someone like a Lubin or somebody somewhere in that extra where somebody's trying to, regain their moxie and something to that effect. Still coming back up the ladder.
On the or the same card as the Lubin Fedor fight. That's why I kind of thought, that'll be interesting to see.
On the 9th, Charles.
On the 9th on Showtime, yeah.
Yeah, on Showtime.
April 9th.
Not against the golfer Sergio Garcia, a real fighter named Sergio Garcia. Sergio Garcia, yeah. 12-rounder.
John, anyone that jumps out to you and say, I'm interested to see what they've got or what they have left, or if they've lost it or anything like that?
Well, Marcos Maidana is fighting on March 26th. He's fighting a 6-rounder on the 26th. He made all that money fighting Floyd Mayweather twice. And first fight, he gave Floyd a good fight, but mostly because Floyd fought his fight because people wanted, so he did it. And then he fought the second fight, his fight, was no contest, but that's another story. But he and Austin Trout is also on. He's still around. So you might not want to see it, but they're still here. You like, what have they got left? It's kind of like that. I mean, Maidana got up to 185 pounds, and I don't even know what he's fighting at on the 26th. Who knows? He might be a junior middleweight now. Let's see if it probably says. Let me see. He is fighting as a middleweight.
Middleweight, yeah. Middleweight,
and Mike Perez is a heavyweight who's the guy that was right. Yeah, he's the guy that you probably think of what I was just going to say, Frank, who badly injured that big, can't say his name, Magnamud, something from Russia, and paralyzed him, and he lived, but Perez hasn't been the same since. He's changed his style. He tried to be a boxer more. He went down in weight. Now he's a cruiserweight. And that really had a major impact on him. So he's on that same card. He got like 15 fights on that fight on Dubai on March 26th. So it's more of it's not so much, I can't wait to see it, more like, really want to see this? I mean, what have they got left?
Right.
Sergio Martinez, he's fought like 3 times in his comeback now, and he's 45 years old, and he might
be older than that, right?
Be older, but he's won every fight, and so it always is. I pretty much have the same attitude as Charles. I just shake my head. But I mean, in a way, real quick, I understand it because it's like Tom Brady coming back again. No surprise. I mean, these guys, they know they can never find anything that gives them the path that has a passion. And even when you're old, I had a discussion with a friend, and I said, look, in the real world, 44 is not old. In sports, it's old. You want to have that one more time. You want to experience it one more time. And he's like, well, is he thinking about getting hurt? And I go, well, he's thinking about getting hurt. He's not playing. Of course he's not thinking about it. But you can't be thinking about getting hurt when you're playing sports. So you might as well not play. But that's the last thing from his mind. He's in shape. So it's love. You know, it's passion. It's like Sugar Ray Leonard said, there was nothing that came close to making that walk up to the ring. So, I mean, I get it, even though we all go, oh. But happily, Frank, Oscar De La Hoya said he's not coming back. So there's that.
So I got a double header for you for the LBE since we're going there. Sorry. I got a double header. The main event will be Oscar De La Hoya versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. And then the prelim, both on pay-per-view, since that's what it is. Snoop Dogg will be serving as the MC or whatever as the entertainment. So we're gonna go at their current weight, not at the whatever we known them before. It's gonna be Prince Nassim versus Ricky Hatton.
So that's about a light heavyweight fight or heavy?
Yeah, right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Right at their current weight.
That might be a cruiserweight. Yeah,
at their current weights, and there'll be snacks up plenty, you know, for the munchies and everything going out there.
Sponsored by Little Debbie, right?
Yeah, Little Debbie and Coca-Cola, the real Coke, not the sugar-free. So, you know, yeah, that one in Johnsonville Franks. So
officiated by Roberto Duran.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can say you used to fight at what weight? You got to be kidding me. And James Toney will be in attendance as well.
He'll be the guy sampling all the food there while we're fighting.
Right.
Him, you know, like, yeah, that's good.
If you folks, if you follow anything that James Toney's done online, he's living life fine. He's happy. I've never seen him without a cigar in his hand. A snack nearby, so don't think that he's ballooned up and something's bad. He's enjoyed himself. So, I was thinking Yuriokas Gamboa, if I got his name right there, is another fighter that's it's a name I've seen and he's still fighting. You mentioned Austin Trout. Now you would think Austin Trout's got to be pushing 40 because he's been around so he's like 34, 35. Yeah. So he went from supernova to nothing and then kind of disappeared off the radar for a while, but it wasn't like he was gone for 7 years. So that wasn't that long ago where he was in the mix. So, I mean, can he get back there? Who knows? But I think to John's point, it's you don't want to leave the arena until the arena doesn't want you there anymore. And it's hard for some of these guys. And not to get into making it all morose and who stuck around longer than they should have or whatever, but for every guy that doesn't, there's a Bernard Hopkins who's fighting until he's 90. Now, the last fight we didn't need to see, but every time he went out there, well, he's still getting the job done. He's still crafty enough to get it done. Okay, let him go. So it's interesting to see. I forgot where I saw it. Boxing doesn't have an old timers day. I forgot what movie that was from. But anyway, the idea of you get it while you can, and you maximize what you can while you do have a chance. Then you go about the next level. But like John said, 38, 44 is in the real world, you're nowhere near ready to be retired. And here you've been over the hill for 10 years. So I don't fault them for wanting to come or to stick around. I just don't know if I always want to see it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like Golovkin. We know why Golovkin hung around because he was hoping he'd get the lotto, and he got it. It sounds like if he wins and then Canelo wins, he's got it. And I think if I'm him, I'm hoping that even though he loves boxing, he's been doing it since he was 6. I get that. He's done. Another guy coming back who's pushing 40 is Kovalev. Right. He's going to be fighting again in like June or something. And what does he have left? So you're right, Frank and Charles. It's mostly like, other than the freak show, like we were talking about with Charles was talking about, it's more about what do they got left? And sometimes they'll surprise you and you'll go, wow, they still have, but it also depends on who they're fighting. Because I was watching the freak show when David Haye fought that guy that was his teacher or something. And the last time I saw David Haye, he had a torn Achilles and he got knocked out by Tony Bellew. And I thought he beat Tony Bellew. So I thought, what does he have left now? He's always in shape, right? And he actually moved around really good. And I kept having to remind myself that he was fighting a guy who had never fought before.
Right.
So, but he was at least moving around, looked good, and it's like, and then of course just that. And then there's, you got to fight Tyson Fury.
Right.
So it's when they're older, it's a glory thing. It's like I said, I totally get it. It would be really hard to give up something you love at such a young age. I mean, some people can do it, most people can't. It's just unfortunate that it ends mostly badly. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they're not doing it because they need the money. Austin Trout, man, I'm gonna have to reach out to that guy after this fight and see if we can get him on the show, because he's one of the most articulate guys you ever want to talk with. And he knows exactly, he's a businessman. He knows what he's doing. So I'd be really interested to hear he's fighting a guy. He's fighting a TBA.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's a former champion, and they don't even have the guy he's fighting, and it's an 8-rounder. He's not the main. He's not even the co-main. He's not even the co-main. He's fighting an 8-rounder. So you got to put your ego in the backyard, I guess, and say, well, I'm still fighting. I still love it, and I'm okay with that. A lot of guys can't do it, but he's still loving it and still doing it.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Please, go ahead.
So, and when you mentioned that, I guess another person that I put on that heap, and granted, people, you can't say that about him, but I haven't seen him in a while, and I really don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people love him, but I want to see him, and he's about 69 now. That's Triple G. Seriously.
Wow.
I want to know. I mean, I know the Canelo fight's supposed to be coming up, but he might be fighting prior to that. But I really want to know. I want to see, I mean, is he still capable of competing on a certain level? Because Lord knows, I've never, since I've been watching boxing and participating in something like this, I've never seen the media hype somebody so much, keeping him in a position of being on top or in the mix, even after he lost. I mean, other people have done other things about boxers, and maybe it's a personal bias, but there are other people who have done other things and moved up or proved that they're capable of, but they always found a way to keep Triple G like in the top 10 pound for pound. And I know those are based on individual choices, but I'm shaking my head. If a guy goes 40-0 and he's a champion on a certain level, and then you still got this guy on there, I mean, who the hell, who's paying you? That's part. I think sometimes they get so fixated on what they like, and that's that's at their leisure, right? They can do what they want to because it's opinionated, but certain times you just shake your head like, damn, did you ever see what was going on here? Besides you just getting caught up in being so having such a man crush on one person. I don't get it. So anyway.
I think we've fallen in love with what we've seen. And I'm not saying that about Triple G. I'm gonna mention another name. You guys think I'm piling on, and I'm not. This is actually a respectful thing. But we fall in love with what we've seen early, and we want to see that again repeatedly. And even if it doesn't come through, we still want to see it. And for me, that's Adrian Broner. And I'm not piling on Adrian Broner at all. But what we saw of him when he came out was so impressive that we were hoping he could sustain it throughout the rest of his career. So every time he fights, we go, okay, let's see Adrian Broner again. And we don't see it, we go, okay, let's see Adrian Broner the next time. And we keep expecting that guy who was so impressive and so unbelievable, had so much potential. We keep wanting to see it, and unfortunately we don't. And I think that's kind of the same thing with Triple G. We throw him in that mix of what we maybe not that category, but it's like we want to see that fight against Canelo again because we want to see that fight against Canelo again. And we're not concerned really about anything he's done since then, because we're looking back with blinders from 12 years ago. And it's like Charles said, what has he done? What has he done other than that? And we probably don't have an answer yet. He's still out there in the forefront.
Yeah, let me say, Charles, if you were talking about Wilder, that was actually a good comparison because I think it was the way Golovkin did it versus Wilder. Remember, everyone complained that Wilder didn't have a jab, Wilder was clumsy, Wilder was doing this, but he's knocking everybody out.
Right.
What got Golovkin all that acclaim early was he knocked out 23 straight guys, 23 in a row. But if you looked closer at his resume, you go, right. He stopped David Lemieux, no surprise. He outboxed him. But he broke Kell Brook's orbital bone. Okay, he's beating good guys, but there's nobody that you're really thinking, wow, he beat him? He's knocking guys out with body shots. And then what Charles said is 100% right. The hype. He became like a boxing god.
Right, yeah, right.
But I felt bad for him in the sense that he got here too late in his career. He got here when he was 30, and he was over the hill pretty soon because I would have liked to see him in his 20s when he was knocking people out because he was, yeah. But then the reason I give him his due is because, remember, when he fought Canelo, nobody was even close to beating Canelo. Not even close. And I would argue with anyone that Golovkin won the first fight. Mm-hmm. And so who had come close to beating Canelo? Nobody. Austin Trout, before that, came pretty close. Lara came pretty close, but not within the last 3 or 4 years. And Canelo waited until Golovkin was over the hill a little bit before they fought, his team or whatever. So that tells me that Golovkin was good. He wasn't a god like they made him. Just like when you hear that a movie is the greatest thing in the world and you go see it, you go, eh. And someone goes, what does that mean? It was bad? No. It was good, but it wasn't like, geez, the greatest movie. So that's how I always looked at Golovkin. And then the second fight, he could have got the decision in that one too, and he was more past his prime. So in a sense, I like it that he's getting the third fight, even though I don't want to necessarily see him get beat up really bad, which he probably will. He's fighting a guy in his prime, and he's not in his prime. I'll be pulling for Golovkin, I'll tell you, 100%. I'll be pulling for him. So it's a mixed bag with him. Very similar to Wilder, who never got the respect. But there's a little difference. So Wilder would say things that would get him in more trouble. I would have knocked out Mike Tyson in 2 rounds. Golovkin was very quiet, didn't say anything against anybody, was very respectful. So people kind of loved him, and he actually got into a little bit of a Twitter war with Andre Ward recently, which was kind of funny because Andre said, he said, you got any regrets? To Andre, and he goes, yeah, I really wanted to fight Golovkin, and they had a choice, and they turned it down in 5 minutes, and Golovkin saw that. And he goes, Golovkin goes, that's not true. Stop lying. And Andre Ward goes, oh, come on. You know what the truth is. Stop playing. That ended the whole thing right there. But I was Golovkin and Wilder. That's a similar. But again, it was something that the approaches that their management team that did that lifted Golovkin, and then Wilder annoyed people more than. And it's not fair. It should not have happened to Wilder. Wilder proved himself in the last fight that he is the real deal. He might not be pretty. But man, has he got some TNT in that punch. So he deserves all the respect in the world. And to me, so does Golovkin.
Can I throw one other thing in there, Frank?
Go right ahead. Yeah.
You mentioned about Adrian Broner, and I know how we disagree about Adrian Broner, and that's fine. So, but I'm gonna say this. To me, and those that watch boxing or whatever, we all have our opinions. I don't think the people that really know expect to see the same Adrian Broner. That's just me. Okay. And I'm going to say that because of the fact that after he fought Madonna, right? And you saw what Madonna was able to do to him. To me, it was clear that he needed to drop to a lower weight.
Sure.
He kept trying to come back to 147. He simply does not have the power to do it at 147. He has the speed and the know-how. But the one thing that he stopped doing, and everybody, you can see it, all you got to do is watch the last, whatever, so many fights, he's not throwing any punches.
Right.
So therefore, how many times after watching the Madonna fight do you say to yourself, okay, I expect it? I think what they're doing is they know that Adrian Broner is an entertainer. He will say something bizarre. He's going to make people watch. He will give you all of the song and dance that you want to hear. He'll cuss people out. He'll say whatever. And people, either as ignorant as they may think he is or whatever his show is or his act is, they want to see it because they're entertained by that. And when he gets in the ring, you just kind of shake your head and go, maybe, 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 maybe. But I think at the same time, it's more about the hype and the show or the drama of Adrian Broner more than it ever is his boxing skills anymore. I mean, because for me, I liked his style. I thought he was going to be not so much the second coming of Floyd Mayweather, but I thought he could have held his own and fought, had some really good fights. Because when I look at when he fought Sean Porter, and he rocked him right in the end, and I was like, that's the flash I'm looking for.
Right.
But realistically, I'm saying to myself, he doesn't have it anymore. And everybody knows it. I mean, if you really be honest about it, when you watch his fights, he doesn't have, he might show you a few things in that, but if you keep waiting for him to throw his hands like he used to, you're going to be waiting.
Disappointed, right?
Yeah, and that's what I think it is. So for me, I see it for what it is, and I understand people that may have the other perspective, but just for me, it's like, it's not happening. If it was going to happen, it would have happened. Now all of a sudden, he's going to come out and do something crazy, win a fight, and he's back. That's not happening. If you think that's happening, I don't know about that one. I don't see how you can buy into that, because all we can go off is proof, and the results have shown us otherwise.
Well, it's like you bought a ticket to the Polo Grounds or to Shea Stadium. Make it different. To Shea Stadium to see Willie Mays play with the Mets. You went, I want to see, oh, that's Willie Mays? I heard much better than that. Of course, he was, 43 years old at the time. It's like, I heard that he was better than that. That's not the guy I expected to see. That's kind of, but you're expecting it, even though it's not there. And that's kind of the thing I think with Adrian Broner. There are people like, I've seen this. I know that he can do this, but he hasn't done it for a decade or probably. So I don't know. John, it looks like you have something you want to add to that.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that the thing is about what with like Willie Mays, the thing about him that I remember is, when he was on the Mets, he was obviously 40 years old, right? But you know what? Just like Charles said, he kind of teased us because he showed flashes.
Right.
That's what athletes do. Adrian Broner, when he knocked Sean Porter down, Sean Porter had a look on his face. Did he just knock me down?
Right.
And you're like, God dang, Broner. I mean, you still got it somewhere. But between Broner, and this was the best example, was when Floyd Mayweather and Broner were friends, and someone said he does not have, he might try to emulate Floyd Mayweather with the money and all that. But the one thing some people give him credit, but the thing about, not one, there are lots of things about Floyd Mayweather, but one of the most important was the man stayed in shape. He did not gain weight between fights. He did not goof around. He was in the gym all the time. Adrian Broner, even when he was younger, you could see that the nightlife, the live it up, that was a problem. So he would gain weight. So the key was he never had the discipline that Floyd Mayweather, and a lot of fighters don't have that kind of discipline. I mean, that's a special kind of discipline when you're so dedicated. So in a way, it's kind of tragic, because if Broner had stayed at 130, when he started, he was dominating. He was dominant, and he won 135 too. He started to show that where he stopped throwing some punches, but then he'd warm up and he'd start, and you're like, look at those combinations that man can throw. So I think it's probably too late now. He's like, 32 or 33. I think I always thought, God, just get down to 135 again. Look at all the guys you could fight. But now he's just an opponent. Now he's an opponent. Conor Benn, hot shot from England, Broner's name came up. He's just somebody that they want to get on your resume. That's all he's turned into, is a resume guy. So he's only got himself to blame, but it just tells you where you got to give people like Floyd Mayweather credit, is that the discipline, the guys that are really disciplined are the ones that stay on top.
Well, we were mentioning, or at least John was mentioning, I kind of thought about this. Guys who were champions that were still underrated at the same time, or maybe not champions, but at the top of the game. And, guys that we don't really think of as being that A guy when maybe they were. And we did a show about him, Michael Spinks, that the idea that Michael Spinks wasn't as great as he was because of the one loss and the last loss, really. Is there anyone else that jumps out at you, John, that you think, man, we just didn't give this guy credit when he was really doing A+ work? Or that's in there now, for example.
Who was that?
Or it might be going on right now.
I think I don't think the Charlos have gotten the credit they deserve. They've lost one fight between them. One fight. And for some reason, they have never caught on with the public, and people don't want to give them their due. And I don't get it. I mean, I've watched those guys for years, and yeah, they're in their 30s, okay. But there's something about, I don't know what it is. They just have not got the due that they deserve, and I don't know if that's their management, if it's them. And I know there's quite a few others that I'm not thinking of. I don't think the guys fighting this weekend, the Rougarou, Rograce has gotten his due that he deserves. I mean, I don't know why he was gone for a couple of years, but he's with Charles' partner there, Richard Schaefer now, so that's definitely going to help. But the Charlos are always going to be a mystery to me. Demetrius Andrade, he's another one, but, Canelo's, get the fuck out of here during that press conference. And I don't know if he's really got people. He's a joke to most boxing fans.
Right.
He's a joke. He's undefeated. So I don't know. You haven't fought nobody. You haven't fought nobody. Well, whoever I fought, I beat. So, you get the fuck out of here. One of those things. So I don't know what. Sometimes it's actually, you love these, Frank, to segue back to the media. The media kind of sets the tone, and then we either follow it or we rebel against it.
Right.
And I'm sure I'm part of the media. We're all part of the media, but that doesn't mean the media is right. Media can be wrong more than anything. And the Charlos, to me, they're always going to be mysteries. Those guys are talented. They can fight. They knock people out. They're champions. What's the problem here?
Charles, anyone you think of, maybe not current or in the past, just how you want to look at it, but we have shortchanged what they've done, and they're not remembered as well as maybe they should have been.
Wow. Oh man, there's so many different people you can run with that way. But I'm probably going with a current dude, and you might think, oh no, I'm saying I'm over the top, but I don't know. And maybe because it's in the shadow of another person. But when you go back and look at the accomplishments, you talk about him, but it's like he doesn't get the love. And I'm thinking, I'm gonna say Errol Spence Jr. That's just me. Okay. I'm like, what else do you have to do? I mean, you fight these guys. You keep saying you're not ready, and you come through. And he waited his turn too. I mean, remember him calling out Keith Thurman, and Thurman was like, "Nah, little boy." So it's like, okay, I beat Danny Garcia. I beat this guy, and granted, Crawford's there, but Crawford was kind of late to the game. He fought Sean Porter. Everybody said he's supposed to do this, and he's beating these guys legitimately, right? So you would think that at some point he's a name, but now it's kind of still saying, giving him is like he's the best. Like when Fury won, when he finally beat Wilder and beat him three times, whatever. Now, like Fury is the guy.
Right.
But instead of hearing that now, we're going, well, man, you need to fight Ugas. You've been out for 2 years. And you got a car accident. You ain't fighting enough. And then you need to fight Terrence Crawford. And I really believe, it's just me off my opinion, if he beats Ugas, I'm talking about Spence, that is, and if he beats Crawford, it's still going to be something else where they're going to go, now you need to go up and fight the Charlos. It's never going to be enough. And I'm trying to figure out, the dude has shown you he will go across the water. He will fight any damn body. What else does he have? You just, even in pound for pound. This is my last question on this. I've never heard anybody say he was pound for pound.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Ever. And I'm like, why not?
Right. If the guy in his division that he can't seem to fight because he doesn't think he's qualified to fight is pound for pound, what does that make him? Right.
Yeah, I that's one guy I'm wrapping my head around. I watched him a long time, and I'm like, okay, all of a sudden one guy wins a fight. he beats a guy, Porter, that he already beat. And Porter, was not the same dude. This is what it is. But then all of a sudden he elevates to number one. And then all of a sudden this guy's like, well, if you beat him, then maybe. But then again, if you beat him, then you still got to fight him. And then maybe, wait a minute though, if you beat him, then you move up to 154 and you beat the Charlo. Then after you beat the Charlo, then you fight Canelo. Then maybe, just maybe, you might get a shot at being considered kind of the dude. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, how many loops this dude got to jump through to get some real love? And people, we love him, yeah. But do you? Do you? And from a media standpoint, I'm sitting there going, I'm not saying he don't have to be your favorite, but it's like, what else does a dude have to do? When you sit up here, last but not least on this, when you sit up and go, well, he wins this fight, he should fight Keith Thurman. What? Keith Thurman ain't fought in 9 years.
Let's take a step back, right?
Oh my God. I'm sitting there, I mean, Crawford, yeah, I get that. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, we want to see that. But Keith Thurman, I mean, what has he done? He won the fight. He looked halfway decent, but he automatically just kind of leaped a lot of people, and they put him in that slot. And now you're saying, well, now you should fight him, fight Thurman, instead of, they were saying, some people were saying that after he beats you guys, he should fight Thurman over Crawford. What? How does Thurman jump? Oh, I don't get that part too. When you talk about inactivity, some of these things, when I hear these fights and whatever, and how these people just jump right back into the royal seat and king again, like Thurman, I'm like, man, y'all just not. It's like, what the hell is Errol Spence even doing fighting? You wouldn't even, if you really just had to ask yourself, what else does he have to do to be considered one of the best in the sport of boxing?
Well, John?
No, that's true. It's comparable. They're all from Texas too. I don't know if Charlo and Spence. I don't know. I think you hit on one thing, Charles, and I don't know why some fighters this hurt, some it doesn't. He doesn't fight very much, and that he never really caught on in that extent. But the most impressive thing that man has ever done is what you said while you were talking, is when he went to England and beat Kell Brook. I mean, that was really impressive. We're not talking about a Kell Brook over the hill who fought Amir Khan a few weeks ago. We're talking about a prime Kell Brook. Right, and it was a hell of a fight, and Errol Spence out-toughed him, outlasted him in England. Mm. So that was, I don't know. I mean, that was not over the top. That was actually a really good example of another guy that doesn't catch on or has not caught on with the public. You look at his record, he's undefeated. He's come back from 2 horrendous things in his life. And I think if he fought 3 times a year, like Canelo, and his team might promote him a little bit better, I think it would help. But some guys, it's just one of those things. They don't catch on. Even I can't go without a show without mentioning him. Even my guy, Andre, I don't think he ever really got the credit. I think he's still underrated by a lot of people, and they just didn't see the greatness of that guy. Only had 32 fights, and Errol Spence is at 27 right now. So it's just sometimes guys just fly under the radar, and I think what happens too, frankly, Charles, is when a guy is really good like Errol Spence, we take him for granted. We expect the high performance. Like Charles was saying, he beat Danny Garcia. Well, he didn't knock him out. Nobody has knocked out Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is an ex-champion. Yeah. You're putting him down because he didn't knock him out? Come on, man. I mean, to me, he beats Ugas. Remember who Ugas beat? I know, he was 42 years old and all this stuff, but that doesn't matter. And I think he beat Sean Porter. So he beats a guy that beat Sean Porter, not officially, and officially beat the crap out of Manny Pacquiao, who's on a roll after the Keith Thurman thing. He's got to get some love. But I'm going to just mirror Charles. He won't. They'll go, he was expected to win.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Crazy.
Well, I'm going to throw in a name of a guy that we like, Leo Santa Cruz. That loss was like, oh my goodness. Well, we've tried to explain why that loss happened, and it was devastating the way it happened. And if we go back and look at it, I think we've all said he might have been winning the fight before he got knocked out. Mm-hmm. But the idea being, well, you got knocked out, you moved up in weight, you took your shot, you got knocked out. Now you're just starting back at the bottom of the heap again. Like, really? All the groundwork you laid before that doesn't matter because you don't hear his name anymore. Like, he didn't, well, but it was just one fight. One fight. You used to be able to lose one fight if you stepped up and wait and realized, okay, maybe I shouldn't have been there. But he was also in that fight before that knockout happened. So that's the guy I look at and go, why? I mean, we were talking about him so nicely just a few years ago. And now it's just like, yeah, well, no, he's just one of another group of guys. So anyway, there's so many ways we can go with these shows. Sometimes we go left, sometimes we go right, sometimes we go up, sometimes we go down. But I think the key to it is that we keep trying to challenge each other. So hopefully we're trying to challenge you as well. So we're trying to make it fun. And when there's not a fight happening this week, it's kind of, I'm not going to say tough, it's different the way we have to attack things. So I appreciate the fact that we're able to have conversations about things and we're able to look at things from a different perspective. And then we can jump back next week and go, now, here comes the fight. So any final thoughts, gentlemen? Charles?
Yeah, just that's what makes it great to be able to watch boxing and be able to talk about history and then different perspectives of it. Because from a fan perspective, I know a lot of times people are watching things like this or they're paying attention and they get the same thing over and over again. And I'm not mad about people when they hustle and they whatever. You do what you do, bro. If you get the likes and all the stuff, I ain't mad at you and you getting rich and stuff. I'm not at that point yet, but I'm at that point though. Now we keep it real with you on this show, and that's one thing we try to do, to give you a different perspective, to think about things, and then also make you go back and think, well, what he just said about that long soliloquy about Errol Smith Jr. doesn't make sense to me. And if you disagree, that's cool too. But at the same time, the fact that you're thinking and then you're even working on your own, sense of where you're at, and you can have discussions with other people, which makes it fun at the same time. And then come back collectively and go, damn, that guy might have known what he was talking about. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. John?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. We have these conversations, and they're always good-natured and they're fun, and hopefully they make people think. And that's all it is. You don't have to agree with us. I don't care. We don't care at all if you don't agree with us. You can even call us morons. We might even agree sometimes, and that's again. So that might happen, and that's fine. We don't care. Charles could take it. God, he'd say bring it on. So it's like, yeah, see, there it is. So yeah, it's just it distracted me down there. It's just a discussion about a great sport that is amazingly enough, people don't think about it, but it is complex, and it also, with the media involved like it is, here we are again cutting our thing with it, ourselves. They can really set it up where it's wrong, and I like how we try to make it right here. And you don't have to agree with us about Errol Spence, like Charles said, or whatever I say about Underwood or whatever, but it's our view, it's how we see it. And if you disagree, that's fine. Go do some research and comment and all those kinds of things, because, we're fans too. We might write about boxing, but we love the sport. We want the best out of the sport. And we see things that we don't like, we comment on it. And that's what makes this show so good from week to week. No matter what it is, we find something to talk about.
Cool. Well, thank you, folks. Thanks, guys. We have fun doing this, and we hope you have fun watching. And that's really the key, because there are a lot of serious things going on in the world, and we don't need to add to the seriousness of it. We just want to have a good time. So thank you once again. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your lives. And we'll talk to you soon.